I think a lot of other women kind of feel like, you know what? I have been doing so much for other people. I've been raising kids, maybe taking care of family, and I've been putting my thing on hold, my dream on hold. And, maybe I don't know 100% what that is yet, but I'm determined to find out. And maybe it's a dream that I've had for a long time, but I just haven't given myself permission to go there.
Welcome to Zestful Aging Podcast, where I speak with changemakers from all over the world, from every walk of life, who will inspire you to live with zest. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, and my mission is to bring you optimism about aging and help you make full use of the new opportunities that only come at this stage of life. And to find out more about this podcast, hop on over to zestfulaging.com. Well, many of us are in the throes of some kind of transition. And at our age, we find ourselves asking, what now? And how do I want to spend the rest of my precious days? And even though we may know we want to make changes in our lives, it can be hard to know where to start. And many of my clients have told me that they just don't know where to begin. Well, today we're in for a real treat. We're going to be talking to half of the powerhouse duo of Reinvention. And they're both zestful agers, and their mission is to help us figure out how can we live deeply satisfying and joy-filled lives. We're going to be talking to Dana Hilmer, and she's a master's level coach, a highly sought-after speaker, and she's helped develop a program called Camp Reinvention, which provides a clear and comprehensive map for us to become the best possible versions of ourselves in this new phase of life. Welcome to the show, Dana.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Oh, good. We're going to be talking about our favorite subjects, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so much we can explore together.
I know. And I know you live and breathe this. And I just want to say I'm so impressed with, as a content creator, as they call us, so impressed with how comprehensive your program is. I mean, you have looked at every aspect of reinvention. So I just thought I would mention that.
Thank you.
I wanted to start off asking you, what are the typical kinds of obstacles you are seeing for women 50 and over?
It's really interesting. The obstacles or kind of the desire for transition of some kind, I think, manifests in so many different ways once we reach this age, right? Once we're in our 50s or our 60s or our 70s or even older. And it shows up, let me just explore some of the ways. Some women, I think, find that they've checked a lot of boxes. They've done a lot of things. They have accomplished a lot. And then you reach this age and you're like, what I've been doing so far isn't working for me anymore. Mm-hmm. And I still have so much I want to do, so much I want to give. I don't know what that is yet, but I've got so much that I can bring to the table. And they're really eager for, I think, more meaning in their life, doing something that's more fulfilling. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of other women kind of feel like, what? I have been doing so much for other people. I've been raising kids, maybe taking care of family, and I've been putting my thing on hold, my dream on hold. And, maybe I don't know 100% what that is yet, but I'm determined to find out. And maybe it's a dream that I've had for a long time, but I just haven't given myself permission to go there. And in terms of obstacles, I think what shows up is so many of us are doing the things that we think we should do. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading a book. I don't know, Nicole, if you've heard of this. It's called The Top Regrets of the Dying by
Bronnie Ware. I had Bronnie Ware on the show. Yeah.
Oh, she's amazing. Yep. And the number one regret is I wish I had the courage to live the life that I want to live, not the life other people expected of me. And when I read that for the first time, it was like a boom, boom, right? Mm-hmm. And, so many women, I think, find that, I've been living life, I've kind of created this notion of what I think success should look like, and I've either been pursuing that, and maybe that version of what you thought success was supposed to be isn't feeling fulfilling right now. Or maybe you've been living into expectations of family, culture, your environment, whatever it has to be. And I think fundamentally what happens at this age is I think we have a longing to be true to ourselves. We have a longing to fully experience this life of ours the way we want to experience it. We have a longing for doing it now because the clock is ticking and there's a sense of urgency, right? And so it shows up in different ways for different people. But I think at the end of the day, when you think about obstacles, change is hard. Creating change in your life is hard. And in terms of an obstacle, oftentimes when we're trying to create change with the people that are immediately around us, no matter how supportive they are, they don't often get what it is we're changing. And when we change, that makes them uncomfortable sometimes. So I think it's really important to surround yourself with other like-minded people, whether you're, surrounding yourself with a group of friends and you're supporting each other through whatever it is you're trying to change, whether you're joining a program like Camp Reinvention. But I think it's really foundational to surround yourself with the people that really will elevate and support what you're creating now at this stage of your life, because change is challenging.
It's interesting that you say that, Dana, because as a psychotherapist, it's very evident that there is magic in the group. I mean, you can be right with an individual work, and that not to diminish that, but it's a very different kind of experience. And groups can really help people like crystallize, and it just happens so rapidly and powerfully. And it sounds like being part of your community, you see that as well, that they're like-minded people. We're all sort of trying to struggle with the same things, and you're hearing yourself in others' stories.
Which is so powerful. It's interesting. I think a lot of times when we're in this kind of place of a crossroads or in transition and longing for something different, a lot of times we're wrestling in our own little head, in our own little living room, and we feel alone with that challenge. We judge ourselves, we beat ourselves up if we're not making these changes we want to quickly enough. We really get in our head about it. And when you are part of a community of people that are doing the same kind of thing, you realize, holy smokes, I am so not alone. As you hear these voices of the other women and you realize like, yes, thank you for saying that, because that is what I've been thinking, or that is what I'm wrestling with. And of course, the insights that they bring to the table are so profound because it truly resonates and lands with everybody in the group. So, I think when Wendy and I are leading our program at Camp Reinvention, we're bringing a really dynamic and robust coaching process to the women, and they are getting so much also out of the peer community, right? So there's a lot of learning and kind of gold that happens, within a group.
Sounds like there's bonding too, I suspect.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's interesting. I find this consistently that with the cohort of women that go through the program together, they have become friends and they continue their gatherings, their conversations many months and even a couple of years now after the program ends. Because what happens is you're connecting on a level that's different than how we connect in everyday life. I have friends that are dear friends that I walk with each week or whatever, but your conversation is usually kind of specific to activities or what's going on with the kids or things like that. Very rarely do you connect with people on the level of, what is your dream? What's holding you back? Right? How can I help? And like you're connecting at that level immediately. So all that superficial stuff is just not there. It's a really rich connection.
That's interesting. And I know you have your own pivot story, and I'm thinking about that you bring your own life experience as well as being a master coach and a big presenter and sought after speaker. And I love what you say in one of your bios about like those shoes didn't fit anymore. And I'm imagining that those were like more high heel type of shoes or business. Yeah. I'm curious. And this is, I think it's different for everyone. When did you know? And how did you know that things were just, even though you had all of the markings of success? And it reminds me of an interview I did with Tracy Schubert Barrett, who started HGTV, and she was talking about all the benefits of having the best office, the best flights, the best food, all this stuff. And just, it's starting to feel a little internally scratchy or raw.
Mhm.
I'm curious for you, when did you start noticing that this success wasn't really all it's cracked up to be?
It's really interesting. If I'm honest with myself, it was actually the minute I accepted a job that looked perfect on paper and my body was screaming at me. Like I was making a decision with my head because it was, being the sales development and marketing director of a big national magazine at the time. And it looked great on paper. It was the move up, certainly finally making, decent money, which took a long time in magazine publishing, having the staff, having the corner office with a view, having the budget, everything looked great on paper. And yet when I said yes, oh my gosh, my body was screaming.
In what way? Tell more.
Specifically, stomach distress.
Stomach.
Really unfortunate stomach distress. And I felt the constriction in my chest, in my abdomen, also a stomach ache. I mean, it was so obvious that I was fighting what my body was telling me. And obviously, if I had the wisdom then that I have now, your body knows, like, we need to tap into all of who we are when we make choices. I was making that choice with my head and my head only, and it was the wrong choice. And no offense to the magazine whatsoever, but what I discovered for myself is, I was on the path that I thought I should be on. I was a marketing major in school. So I took a marketing assistant job, a marketing associate job. I moved up the ladder. Success looked a certain way to me at that time. I thought it was about moving up the corporate ladder. And what I found is I was pursuing what I thought I should pursue. But at the end of the day, I didn't care about advertising pages. I was not making a difference in the world or doing things every day that it was in any way aligned with how I want to experience my life. And so even though there was some exciting elements of that industry,
shiny, shiny stuff,
very shiny and very cool in some ways, you have expense budget and all that. But at the end of the day, I realized that you can be good at something, and I was good at what I did. You can be good at something, but it doesn't mean it's right for you. And for me, at the end of the day, I was not making a difference in people's lives. I actually, I'll explain this further in a moment, but I actually realized in hindsight that I was not in any way experiencing my life the way I want to experience it. The things that truly were most important to me at the time, my fiance, spending time with my friends, my health and well-being, those things that were so important to me really took a complete back seat because the hours I was working were truly insane. So I really kind of consider it the year that I lost a big part of my life. And ultimately, I was physically ill a good portion of that time just from stress and overwhelm. And, it really was the wrong choice for me. And so I think that moment that I realized that I need to make a change is when I realized that I'm not being true to myself here. I'm living this vision of success that in no way is resonating for me because, quite frankly, I didn't care about what I was working for, magazine pages. I also really don't care about the corner office or the corporate ladder right? So I was giving up too much of those things that were important to me. But I have to say, it took a while to give myself permission to do that.
I imagine so, because you're fighting against a huge, what's the best way to say it? Like cultural reinforcing, saying, yeah, you've done it. You go, you show other women how high you can go. And I think it takes a lot of courage to say, you know what, I know it looks great and everyone says it should be great, but it's not working for me.
It's not working for me. Yeah. And, it's interesting. I made the pivot in kind of different stages, so at that stage in my life, I was starting a family. And so during the time that I had a young family, I have three boys. They're all young adults now, 19, 21, and 23. But at the time, I realized that I really wanted to focus on my family at that stage. And I was very fortunate to be able to work consulting jobs and project-based work to work around my family's schedule. And it's interesting. I explored the world of coaching, and this is back, 23 years ago. And at that time, coaching was kind of a new thing. People really didn't know what it was. And I was exploring it. I actually trained to be a workshop leader for an organization called Life Designs, which I now know is based in positive psychology. I didn't know that then. But I trained to be a leader, and it was amazing training. And ultimately, she shifted gears and didn't use the few of us that she trained. But I mention this because the seed was planted, and I had a sense of the essence of the work I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be in the business of helping people realize their potential, to be true to themselves, all those things that we talk about now, at camp and with the work I do, coaching. And it wasn't until several years later that I discovered positive psychology. I didn't even know it was a thing. The science of human potential, the science of happiness and goal setting and resilience. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I wanted back then, but didn't even know it existed. Like coaching at the time didn't feel as grounded in science, and I'm that kind of gal. So I immersed myself in training in positive psychology. I was then a teaching assistant for the program, then went on for my coaching certification, and now, quite a few years later, I'm a master level coach. And it's interesting how the seeds are planted, and sometimes you kind of land in a place and it looks obvious in hindsight how you got there, but it's never a straight line, is it? Pieces of what you do in your life kind of come together and you're like, oh, okay, this is how I landed this way. But nobody's path is straight. And mine was definitely not straight, in that process. And along the way, I did a few cool things like a podcast, and I published a book, and, so things like that really were exciting to me as I was making this transition.
I think we are all searching for a more meaningful and joy-filled life, but we don't quite know where to start. Anyway, that's what my clients have told me. Wouldn't you just love a blueprint to figure out how to be your most vibrant self in this phase of life? If so, let me tell you about a recent discovery. It's called Camp Reinvention. Wendy Parati and Dana Hilmer are both masters at helping people transform their lives in the direction of more joy and deep satisfaction. Their coaching approach is like rocket fuel to take you to a life that's more energized and meaningful. And right now you can sign up for Camp Reinvention with my code, which is available in the show notes. And please let me know about your experience. And now back to the show.
You were saying that, when you were starting to look into positive psychology and discovering things, there was a fit. There was, wow, wait a minute, this is it. I don't know what it's called, but it feels great. Can you describe, and this may be a hard exercise, what does it feel like to be in congruence with your life, doing what you love? Can you describe that for our listeners?
What a great question. It's probably a little different for everybody, but I describe it as an expansive feeling, because no matter what, when you're doing something that's new, when you're even thinking of doing something that's new, this is when we're out of our comfort zone. And this is when oftentimes we hear that voice of limiting beliefs screaming at us, right? Like that's when it resurrects itself. So that place of doing something new is an uncomfortable place. But the distinction between doing something that lights you up and is incongruence is it feels expansive.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you might feel anxious or a little nervous, or you're in that how am I going to do this kind of place, there's an excitement. Your chest feels full. You're doing full breaths. There's an energy that you feel that is in no way limiting you. Where when you're making that choice that is not incongruence, you feel that in your body. If you stop long enough to feel it, you do. You can feel
Mm.
the constriction. You can feel the tightness in your chest. You can feel your shoulders being tight. However that shows up for you, you will feel that. And so, what I've learned in my life, based on not only this question you're asking, but what I personally experienced, is we need to tap into all of who we are, and specifically not only into our mind, but into our body to assess if a choice is right for us. Another thing that I do want to share with your listeners is a tool that we teach at camp. And I think this tool will always keep you on track to make sure that you are in congruence. And it's a tool called the compass point. And this is, we take our campers through a process of creating this. Essentially, the compass point is a feeling state. And it is the answer to this question. How do you want to feel about yourself and about your life on your last day?
Mm.
When you are clear on that, and I now am, when you are clear on that and you are using it as your filter for the choices that you make, you will always be making choices that are aligned with this feeling state, which means they're aligned and they're in congruence with how it is you want to be experiencing your life.
Mm.
I can tell you right now, if I had my compass point back when I had that job offer in magazine publishing, the answer would have been a hell no, right? Because, I mean, honestly, because my compass point is I want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel at peace, knowing that that I lived all in and I loved with all my heart. That is a phrase that has so much power and meaning to me that when I'm making choices that are aligned with peace and fulfillment and living all in and love, those are the choices that have me feeling the way I want to feel. When I made the choice that I made back in the day, it was not aligned with that. I did not feel at peace. I did not feel it fulfilled. I did not in any way experience my life the way I wanted to experience it. I wasn't living all in. In fact, I wasn't even doing the things that were important to me. And love, yes, I had love in my life, but I wasn't spending time with the people that I loved, right?
Mm.
And so everything about that choice was not in alignment with my compass point. And I promise you, when you make those choices, both big ones and small ones, that move you closer to that compass point, you're always going to be making choices that are aligned, that are in congruence with what is most important to you.
That's so beautiful. When I did my first podcast interview, it was with a friend of mine, and we had done a retreat together, a mindfulness retreat using fly fishing, because we both were fly fishing. And so I went to interview her, and I felt like this sense of freedom. And like I was almost on like the best, almost like I was flying. And there was such a sense of like, this is the most delicious thing I can imagine. And I don't care how I have to figure it out. I got to do more. And
Love.
it was like an all body experience of such joy. And all I keep coming back to is this freedom of like, I love doing this. And it just like every blood cell was vibrating.
Oh, it's such a beautiful feeling. That's amazing.
And that's very different than I think, most of us have been living. I'm sure you know Martha Beck, the super duper coach, and she has an expression that I think you may have heard of. She talks about shackles on or shackles off.
Yeah.
Have you heard that one? And I love that. And that's another kind of sort of compass exercise. And I use that with my clients too. Does it feel like shackles off or shackles on? And that reminds me of what you were saying, like really getting in touch with your body. And what are you noticing? Are you noticing tightness? Are you noticing constriction? Or as you said, is it expansive? Does it feel like you?
Love it. Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting too, and we don't usually think of any goal that we do in this way, but every goal you have is about a feeling state. So if you say you want to lose 10 pounds, quite frankly, it probably has nothing to do with the 10 pounds. It has everything to do with how you want to feel. I want to feel trim. I want to feel sexy in my jeans. I want to feel strong. I want to feel like I can keep up with my teenagers on this trip. I want to feel, right? It's always about a feeling state. And so that's, if you kind of look at this compass point through that lens, how do I want to feel about myself and about my life? Every goal is about a feeling state anyway. Why not choose those goals and choose them based on how it is you want to feel? And this, I think, is a guaranteed way to really check in with yourself and not make your choices through the lens of expectation or should, right? We all know when we're doing something that doesn't feel right or doesn't feel truly, with who we want to be and what we want to be doing. This is a beautiful way to do that. And by the way, you can use this compass point every single day, like even on those days when you feel like you can barely get out of bed. And we've all had those days when we're totally in a funk. Always something teeny tiny that you can do that will move you in that moment closer to your compass point. It might be, you know what? I want to just pull up the covers and go back to bed. It might be, there are always things that you can do to move closer to that feeling state. So, oftentimes we can feel stuck, with certain, in our life in different ways, right? And this is kind of the essence of usually when people want to make a transition, it's because they feel stuck or at a pain point in some way. But in small ways, every single day, you can make progress. You can make progress toward the life you want to live and how you want to feel just by using that as your filter.
But the part that I think is so important that you and Wendy do so well is first you have to clarify where you want to go, right? I mean, you have to clarify your values. You knew, hey, I want more love. I want to spend time with my family. So first, right, we identify our really deepest wants, needs, values. Am I on the right track here?
Yes, you are. And it's funny, we hold them as slightly separate conversations, but they are aligned, of course, right? But keep in mind, again, that compass point is the feeling state. So the values are, I always look at it as when you look at your time and when you look at your energy, are you spending your time and energy on the things that you say are most important to you? So for example, for me, my filter, if you will, if somebody asks something of me and my time, my filter is, does it allow me to spend more time with my family and dear friends? Does it allow me to make a difference and continue the work that I'm doing to have an impact? Does it allow me to take care of myself? Those are three things that are utmost importance to me. So if this request of my time does not help me live into any one of those three things, it means I need to pause and maybe even say no. But I think we all need a filter, or how are we going to answer those questions? Because we can't do everything. Your time and your energy is a zero-sum game. If you give it to something else, usually you're saying no to yourself. And so you want to be really clear that those things that you're saying yes to are in fact aligned with what is most important to you. And a really good gut check is look at the calendar, right? Yeah. Look at that calendar. Are you really spending time on those things you say are most important?
Yeah, I think having that blueprint is just, you can't put a price tag on that.
No.
Yeah, it's really using your days, your precious days to the absolute maximum. And I just recently decided, because I've been sort of sorting through, what am I going to keep? What am I going to get rid of? And I realized I just want more adventure. I want that, like, we all talk about pushing outside our comfort zone, but like, I want some thrills, So
and you're doing it.
I am doing it, yes. But I just got tickets for doing some zip lining
Awesome.
at Niagara Falls.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
you
That's
don't go
amazing.
over the falls, of course, but it's pretty invigorating, and I'm scared. I'm like, that's high. Those are
Awesome.
But then there's that part but I said I wanted to do more, not exactly risky, but more exciting things, because
Yeah.
usually my life is pretty calm and quiet and simple. And so I'm very aware that, okay, you said that. What are you going to do about it? And
Fantastic. Love that. Yeah, if we can lean into those things that feel a little scary to us more often, I think that's when we feel most fully alive, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think also there's a pride in like, well, that was hard and I did it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Any other last thoughts for us? I know there's so much to talk about. There's the perfectionism, there's the comparing, there's so many pieces of this. Anything else you'd like to, in the time we have left, just talk to our audience about, who may be saying, gosh, I have a longing, but I don't know, I don't have a clear sense of what it's about.
Yeah. It's interesting. First of all, the work that we do at camp is really starting inwardly. I think a lot of times when we are eager to make a change, we either do a lot of research or we get into action, but we're not doing the work that is necessary to make sure that our beliefs, that our thoughts, that our actions, that the patterns we've created in our life are actually going to be working for us instead of against us. And there's a lot of work, I think, that needs to be done to get our mindset, to get our head in a place where we are moving forward in the best way. And there are so many things in our life that feel heavy at this stage of our life, whether it be responsibilities. A lot of the things that are heavy are things that are narratives that are going on in our head as well. And we need to let go of some of the narratives, some of the beliefs, some of the situations, maybe even some of the people in our life that are feeling so heavy that we cannot move forward. And so there's we talk about the backpack that we carry, of course, because we're camp. The backpack can get really heavy. And so we need to be really clear on what is it that we need to let go of so we can move forward in a way that is lighter. And one of the things that we challenge all of our campers with is 3 fundamental beliefs, really, because these 3 beliefs are ones that you really need to play with to confidently move forward with creating a change. The first belief is change is possible. And, change happens all the time, of course, but we're talking about that positive change, that exciting change that you want to create is possible. And if you don't believe it's possible, you're going to prove that to be true because you're not in action, right? So fundamentally, you need to believe that's possible. Even if you only believe it 10%, you have to play with that and start looking for evidence to support the fact that it is possible. The second belief is that it is never too late to pursue a dream. And we know that. We see it over and over again with the women that we work with. And if you really look at people that are living full, vibrant, beautiful lives well into their 80s, their 90s, maybe even their early hundreds, it's because they're still dreaming. They're still having projects and adventures and things that they're looking forward to, and they have something to wake up to each day. And so to have a dream, it may not be the same dream you had when you were 10, but it is never too late for you to have a new dream and to pursue a dream, right? And that is so important. And the third belief, and this is one I think that's harder for people to wrap their head around, is the life that you have lived so far does not need in any way to dictate the life that you create for your future. unless you say so, right? So again, the life that you've lived so far does not need to dictate the life you live in the future. And so that is one that's, where we get out of our comfort zone, right? And that's the one that we start saying, yeah, but, and how am I going to do it? But you first need to believe it. Because when you do, the beliefs you have dictate the lens you see through. And so when you start playing with these new thoughts, and a belief is nothing more than a thought you've thunk enough times that it became a belief. Just usually we do that unconsciously. But when you're intentional about creating a new belief, you're playing with it at the thought level. So start thinking like, yeah, change is possible. Yeah, I can pursue a dream at this age. Yeah, my life doesn't need to look the same in the future. Start playing with those thoughts. And what you'll do is you'll start looking through the lens of those thoughts, and you'll find evidence now to support those new beautiful thoughts. And then once you've found enough evidence and you think it enough, they become your belief. And when it's your belief, that's when you can create those powerful changes.
Oh, those are really thought-provoking, and there's this freshness and newness. And as you said earlier, it could be just a little thing. Like, I'm going to, plant herbs in my garden this year, and I'm going to use fresh herbs because I've always wanted to do that. That kind of thing, I think has great ripple effects.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. When we talk about reinvention, we always want to make clear to people that reinvention can be the big thing, move to Italy and whatever, but most of it is the small stuff that you're talking about. Like when we treat our body differently, when we think about ourselves differently, when we pursue a goal that's exciting to us, all of those are reinventions that have huge impacts on your life. And so reinvention doesn't need to be big. It can be those simple, small changes with how you're showing up in the world, how you treat yourself, the way you spend your time, right? Those small little shifts make a really big difference.
I found that as a therapist, exactly that, these things have ripple effects. And it must be so fun to lead Camp Reinvention. It just sounds like there's so much energy, and I can imagine anticipation, and it just sounds like a blast.
Thank you. You just brought a smile to my face as you said that, because we do have so much fun with it. And what's interesting is the 12-week process that we bring our women through requires a lot of them. There's a lot of thought-provoking material. There's a lot that we're asking people to do to dive in and play with us. And we make it fun. And that's why we called it camp, honestly, because we feel like at this stage of life, we women take things so seriously and we have so many responsibilities. And we also need to tap back into what do we love and play and wonder and creativity and adventure and right? Like this is all about what you're about on this podcast, Zestful Aging. Like we need to tap back into that. And that's why we call it camp. Like, yes, we're doing rich work, but you know what? At its core, it's about being a heck of a lot happier in the second half of our lives. Like we want to be vibrant and fully alive. Not.
There's nothing like that feeling. I find it even hard to describe. That's why I ask my guests a lot, what was it like when you first came into, what did it feel like and all that? I find it kind of hard to describe sometimes.
Yeah.
So, Dana Hilmer, you are such a zestful ager, and I'm so excited for people to listen and get some, just little appetizers of what Camp Reinvention could do for them. And I so appreciate your time today. Thank you for spending it with me.
Oh, I so enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on today.
So, Dana, where can people find out more about you and Wendy and your work together for Camp Reinvention?
Thanks so much for asking. We offer our 12-week program that we teach live via Zoom 4 times a year. And our next program is launching in January. You can go to campreinvention.com. You can also go, I think you said you'll put it in your show notes, a link for more information about that program. So please check out the programs we offer. We are offering more things kind of on an ongoing basis. And like I mentioned, that next live program is starting in January.
Excellent. I will make a note of that, and people can find the link in the show notes. Thank you again, and best of luck.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share it with some of your friends. Our theme song is All I Did Was Wait for You by Kjartan Abel. Visit Kjartan-Abel, that's KJARTAN-Abel, ABEL.com to hear more of Kjartan's work. And our technical director is Stephen Litweiler. Hello, Zesties. Well, many of you know that I've been a psychotherapist for more than 30 years, and I'm an expert in healthy aging. But what you might not know is that I'm also a midlife coach, and I help women like you clarify and design the life you want to live in your second half. A life that's vibrant and feels uniquely like you. Maybe you've spent your entire life caring for others in one way or another, and you're a bit stuck with how to move forward in this new phase of your life. Or maybe you're considering a career change or other big life transition. Or maybe you're in the middle of a life change you didn't see coming. You may be asking yourself questions like, who am I now? And how do I build a new kind of life for myself? Or how do I make the most of the time I have left? This stage in our lives is the perfect time to pause, recalibrate, and reassess where our life is heading and ask ourselves what deserves our precious time. Now is the time to focus on what brings you joy and a sense of deep, calm contentment. I love helping women discover who they are in addition to being caregivers. After our sessions, you will have a clear plan for making your life more vibrant and deeply satisfying. You will feel a sense of control because you will be making choices that are perfect for you. And you will feel more confident because you will have an individualized blueprint to follow. And because you're a Zestful Aging podcast listener, I'm offering a special package deal. Contact me at zestfulaging.com right through my contact link. Time is truly precious, and there's no time to waste. And stay tuned next week for another interview with a fascinating and inspiring guest. See you then.